Come on, Jesus is about to come and fill us once again.
The worship at Hillsong is unparalleled.
Have you ever been told that you're part of a cult?
Yep. The music's amazing. It's freaking phenomenal.
It's not cool to be a Christian or to be religious at all.
The number of Australians who call themselves Christian is falling, and fast. There are almost 1 million fewer Christians than there were just 5 years ago. But there is one Christian denomination that's bucking that trend.
Each week, nearly 40,000 Australians flock to 27 locations around Australia for what is surely the most iconic evangelical church in Australia, Hillsong.
Who's ready to praise God today? Come on. Let's put our hands together.
Pentecostal churches like Hillsong are on the rise. Membership has grown by 18% in the past decade, and almost half of those are under the age of 30.
Now, I should admit at this point that I have some history with Hillsong. I was raised in a series of evangelical churches, including Hillsong, and much to my mother's chagrin, I have had nothing to do with the church in years because sitting is great. But we are here to talk to young Hillsongers to find out what it is about the church that is attractive to them.
And also to ask some of the big questions facing Australia right now, like how did they vote in the same-sex marriage survey? Melissa was brought up in a Christian household, but only went to church occasionally.
I've been to Catholic churches all my life and it was the most boring thing and it was not inviting.
But Hillsong was a different story.
So what were your first impressions? You walk in here and what goes through your head?
I walked in, there were so many people, everyone was like smiling, laughing, there's like music playing.
And I thought it was like a party. I wasn't going really to, get a connection with God or anything. I just wanted to go because it was fun.
You left school at the age of 15 and I understand you went through a fairly dark period.
I definitely did. I actually stopped going to church. I was really mentally unstable, hurting myself quite badly, cutting myself. I literally hated myself.
Eventually, Melissa's family encouraged her to go back to church.
My life didn't turn around in a moment, but that was kind of my epiphany of okay, you've got to do this, you've got to change, and it just gave me some hope.
What gave you hope?
I would walk into the church and I would just feel this sensation of happiness, really, and just belonging. It's kind of like someone was looking down on me or touching me or giving me a hug, really. I just knew within myself that it was definitely God.
It's here in Sydney's Hills District that Hillsong has its roots. Established by young Pentecostal pastors Brian and Bobby Houston in the mid-1980s, Hillsong now has churches in 19 countries and boasts weekly attendance globally of 100,000 people. And of course, there's the celebrity members.
I just enjoy seeing people worship, praising God.
I grew up I had no friends, I had no one growing up. I actually wanted to kill myself before I came to Australia, actually.
Eric's family moved to Australia from the Philippines when he was a teenager, and like Melissa, the church he'd grown up in didn't really resonate with him. That was until a friend invited him to Hillsong.
I was just gobsmacked. The preacher just asked, if you want God in your life, I just want you to run to the front. I just ran, felt like this was my turning point in my life. God was like, I'm here, I'm actually real.
What does God feel like?
The warm comfort, basically love.
2 months after Eric joined Hillsong, his world was completely shaken up.
My mom actually got cancer, stage 3, 15% of the chance of living. And it's I basically lost hope.
Did you feel betrayed?
I feel backstabbed. I thought you were with me, God. What the heck? One night I just had a nightmare of mom just died. I would just cry on my bed. And I felt like someone just hugging me so warmly, just so tight, I'm here, don't worry, don't be afraid. Then 1 month later, then mom was better. You wouldn't realize she had cancer a year ago.
So we've just met Eric. I think it's a very common story. When a parent is sick or you're facing a life and death struggle in your life, those are the moments in your life when Pentecostal Christianity is really effective because it's high emotion, a deeply ingrained community. It's funny, because for me, I was a very angsty, lonely kid. And the reason Hillsong appealed to me, it was big. and it was enveloping, and people really did care and invest, and people really did provide the family and provide the warmth that, you know, I wasn't getting in school and I definitely wasn't getting at home.
The church is failing to adapt to contemporary culture, and Hillsong has done the complete opposite.
Tim was a regular Hillsonger for a while, but dropped back because of what he describes as theological differences.
I'll go occasionally with friends and family, but I think Hillsong's like Macca's. It's good every now and then, but you couldn't live off it.
What do you reckon is the most misunderstood thing about Hillsong?
Money.
Why money?
The perceived, I think, attitude is that Hillsong's all about money, it's a business, it's all about making and maximising profits. But I think the intention is a lot more pure.
Hillsong's revenue in 2016 was $161 million. That is 16% up from the previous year. Over half of that came from donations. And like all churches in Australia, Hillsong's earnings are tax-free.
If you use your phone to the App Store, Google Play, you can download the Hillsong Giving app.
And I think that's what makes people uncomfortable. It's like, well, why are you telling me I'm a single mother of 3 with living on, you know, $24,000 a year, telling me to give 10% of my income? It's almost manipulative to tell people, give money to me or give money to the church and you'll be blessed for it.
Is that enhanced by the sheer production value of the event?
Yes, definitely, 100%, because the church obviously doesn't need it.
If we're going to grow, we need to spread. If we're going to spread, we have to grow. You can see it in natural ways. If someone is involved in financial investment, maybe building a property portfolio, what has to happen? They have to grow their capital, they have to grow their finances, and if they can grow their finances, they can spread their portfolio.
But then they also spend so much of their money on community outreach programs. Like where every Christmas they just fill a bus with Christmas presents and they go around to disadvantaged families and they give these families Christmas presents.
Hillsong turned down multiple opportunities from the feed to be interviewed, but we do know how much they spend on those charitable missions. Of Hillsong's $161 million revenue last year, 15% was spent on charitable missions, just above spending on corporate services, and almost 40% of revenue went to church services, including paying pastors.
The perception is that you give 10% of your wage. I think that's what I've heard.
Yep.
I've probably given about $4 to Hillsong. If you want to give, you can give. If you don't, like, it's all cool.
The other thing that has come up, there is a perception out there that Hillsong is something of a cult.
Oh, it makes me really angry.
Why does it make you angry?
Oh, because it's just ridiculous. If I was to meet someone and be like, oh, I go to Hillsong, yeah, get that look. Like, really? Do you really, you go to Hillsong? Like, are you weird?
The end of my Christianity does not go out with a bang. It goes out with a whimper. It goes out with slowly going less and less and less. And when secular friends make jokes about Hillsong being a cult, you just quietly shrink into the background and hope nobody asks you what you think. What do you want to do?
I want to be a pastor now. Like, that's basically what I want to do.
Eric already gives much of his time to Hillsong as a youth leader working with Year 8 boys.
Right now, Australia has a very big survey on about same-sex marriage. If one of your boys came up to you and said, I think I'm gay, what would your response to him be?
I would just say, dude, no matter what happens, I'll still love you no matter what. If I start treating him differently because he was gay, then I basically felt like I failed.
Should he then also have the right to get married?
Can we skip this question? Like, I don't want to go through this.
I believe homosexuality to be wrong, personally. And I think that what's right is right, regardless of whether or not a culture believes it to be right. So I think everyone can agree that killing a baby is wrong, regardless of the culture that you're in.
What you just argued then was that there is a moral equivalence between two gay people wanting to get married and killing a baby.
Oh, well, I never compared killing a baby with...
I didn't say you compared them, there's a moral equivalence.
Yes, there is I agree. Look, they're different types of wrong, and they're very different consequences.
What are the consequences in being gay?
Well, you don't have to look. You can look throughout history and see that STDs, AIDS, come about largely due to a lot of homosexual behaviour.
Right now, Australia's having a very big conversation about same-sex marriage, and Brian Houston put out statement-y thing, basically came down on he's voting no.
Yeah.
Where do you stand on that topic?
I'm totally all for it.
Same-sex marriage?
Yeah, definitely all for same-sex marriage.
Has a bit more meaning for you than it does for a lot of people, doesn't it? Why is that?
It definitely does. Well, I'm bisexual. I've had a couple of girlfriends and I've had boyfriends. I feel like I was born like this. So I can't imagine that God would have made me with my sexuality if it wasn't natural or it wasn't normal.
Does it feel good to say it out loud?
It feels really good to say it out loud.
Imagine I'm Brian Houston. How would you go about convincing him that you deserve marriage as much as I do, as much as he does?
I would just let him know, like, this is how I feel, it's not affecting him. If I was to get married to a female, how is that possibly affecting his life?
And those handful of passages in the Bible that say things like, you know, a man shall not lie with a man and stuff like that, like when you see those things there, how do you think about those?
I kind of just look over them. I would just read it and be like, all right, cool. I'll just flip the page. It's like the world's evolved.
Hillsong is sold as young, hip and modern, but at the end of the day, it's still a community that is ostensibly based on the knowledge of a 2,000-year-old book. They've picked and chosen which elements of this modern age that they are willing to adopt. The bright lights, the four chords, and which parts they're still choosing to ignore. Same-sex marriage.
As heaven and earth sing, holy is the name, holy!
There's a tension at the heart of Hillsong between the ancient and the modern, and as Australian society at least changes and evolves, there's a very big question as to whether Hillsong can change with it.
Just saw this new disturbing video from Hillsong entitled Peace. It's on their Hillsong Young and Free channel. Notice that it has 7,000 dislikes, and there's a reason for that. We're going to go over it real quick here. Also, notice there's no comments allowed. Probably the main reason is because this video is so disturbing, and it seems to be basically saying the opposite of what the lyrics say. Now, it starts off with 5 women in white. I would say it is for purity, or maybe they're virgins. It kind of reminds me of Revelation with the crowns. Looks like they're brides of Christ, maybe, like these are churches symbolically. At least this is what you would think with Revelation. This is kind of what it reminds me of. But it starts to focus in on this woman in the back. And what happens is there's a woman singing while these 5 are sitting here. And the woman singing is in red. Now, of course, if you think of Revelation, who's red? You have the red dragon. And of course, lady in red in occult terminology is referring to the devil as well. Now, she's singing sort of like a siren, like she's trying to impress these women that are in white. Now, you see this light shine on her eyes, and this light somehow gets her to want to take her crown off. And the way she takes her crown off is just otherworldly. It's not, it doesn't look like a human is doing it. And you can see she has long nails. It kind of reminds me of like sort of like a witch or something. Reminds me of like maybe a music video from Beyonce or Madonna or something like that. You know, some occultic video. So she takes off her crown and casts it down. But of course, Christ is not here, so she's not casting it down to Christ. All we have here is this red lady who is like a siren. She then takes off her veil and starts walking towards the red woman, or the lady in red. And she also has these very short shorts, which is kind of strange as well. And then what happens is you start to see influence on these other 4 women as well, these 4 brides, I would say, coming from this woman in red. And you start to see light, and also you'll start seeing like film or maybe videos playing in the background here, and also on the women. You can start to see video, almost like social media influence on these women. And of course, if we take the symbology from the New Testament, from Revelation, these would be churches. This would be a church or a bride of Christ in white with a crown. That's how we're supposed to be presented before Christ. And it's like this woman in red is influencing them with social media, with videos, with maybe cell phones or whatever, you know. Who knows? Just multimedia, social media. And then what happens is it has some real influence on these women, and it gets them to like take off their crowns as well and cast them down. So then the other women cast their crowns as well, almost like they're forsaking their crowns, right? And we see also more videos playing in the background, like influence from videos and movies and music. And then we see her walking up to the light, this false light, Luciferian light, and when it hits her eyes is when these things happen. You know, back in the back, when she was in the back, the light made her take the crown off. Okay? And then now, her eyes are fully in the light. This false light, you can see it's a rainbow light, which is also a symbol for the devil. Okay? And then all of a sudden she turns red. So she takes on this devilish form as well. So it's like the church has forsaken her purity, her crown, and is being influenced by the devil in this false light. This is kind of how I see it. Now, that's what I think is being said by the video. I don't think this is just like, you know, some director for Hillsong that just is trying to be worldly and trying to influence people and trying to, how can I make a bigger hit? You know, I don't think it's like that. I think this is deliberate and very direct. You can't accidentally do that, I don't think. I mean, using biblical symbolism from Revelation or just occultic symbolism, it's pretty obvious what they're saying. Okay? And, of course, this ain't the first time Hillsong Church has done something that would that would be bad, okay? We have Carl Lentz, of course, who's the New York City pastor of Hillsong. And I've done a number of videos covering him. Here's one right here where he went on Oprah and he did something. I think what he did is he basically denied the gospel or something really huge that had to do with the gospel, if I recall correctly, when he was being interviewed by Oprah. Oprah is a New Age false Christian. Of course, Carl Lentz also is the mentor of Justin Bieber, and you can see right here, Bigger Than Satan was one of his shirts with Marilyn Manson on the front. You see that? Marilyn Manson right there. So Justin Bieber has his own alleged Christian clothing line with Kanye West, and one of the shirts they sell has Marilyn Manson's face on the front, and it says Bigger Than Satan on the back. Does that sound like a Christian shirt to you? I don't think so. So you have Justin Bieber also going to Hillsong conferences wearing, actually, let me show you that. I think I have it back here. One sec here. Where did it go? Yeah, here we go. Here we go. We have Justin Bieber going to a Hillsong conference wearing a Marilyn Manson shirt. This is the shirt he's wearing. And him and actually Marilyn Manson became kind of buddies for a while even. He even has a selfie with Marilyn Manson right here. And this is a guy who's supposed to be allegedly a Christian. He started out as a Christian. It's sort of like this video here. He started out with maybe a real Christian, and then he became what you see right here, a false church, a false Christian that's leading people astray and corrupting others. So also this, I mean, it doesn't end there. Trust me, it's a lot of stuff. We'll cover this in a second here. This was a Easter special that was really messed up, more like a Gwar concert or maybe just Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome or something. And then we have this here. Let me play this for you and you'll see what I'm getting at. This is pretty ridiculous. A woman's conference. You'll be shocked what was at a woman's conference. All right. Spandex underwear. at a woman's Hillsong conference. Okay, so we're talking about alleged Christian women's conference where you would think you would be taught like Christian godly values or something about the Bible or something, you know? You'd think you'd be learning something from God, from the Bible, and instead you have a nearly naked cowboy and a bunch of women dressed in short skirts dancing around, and then SpongeBob dancing around on the stage, and a bunch of other weird stuff. It reminded me of like an Adam Sandler movie or something. That's just one. Okay, then you got this one. Actually, I got to get past the advertisement. Maybe if I hit refresh, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Family.
And then he also does the hand up and down in the center. Right here. It looks like a Baphomet in the center. And then he also does the hand up and down. Carl Lentz, the guy's name is. And then you got Austin Powers at the women's conference. So you got Naked Cowboy, SpongeBob, Austin Powers, women in short skirts dancing around with their legs being kicked up in the air towards the crowd, by the way. I thought that was really tasteful, especially in church, you know. And then, of course, I did this video, Hillsong Easter, which basically looked like a Gwar concert, according to one of my subscribers. I thought it looked like Mad Max meets Black Magic Illuminati ritual. That happened this year. This is just insane. Just check this out. I think you get the picture there. It's pretty disturbing. I don't think that looks anything like the Passion of the Christ from what I understand. Alright, so you've seen those two. You get kind of an idea what's going on here. So it's almost as if they're telling us what they're doing, hidden in plain sight. They're trying to corrupt the church. They're trying to get you to cast your crown down, your purity, and to basically listen to the devil and his false light. You have these false converts like Carl Lentz, Justin Bieber, Kanye West. All these guys are satanic, but they pretend to be Christian. This is what we got going on, you know. So it's pretty ridiculous, actually. Kind of wondering what you guys think. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Honestly, I think this is pretty disturbing. And this video, I mean, the fact that they have so many thumbs down and they disable comments, clearly they know what they're, I mean, they know that people don't like this. And, I mean, even if I was completely ignorant, let's just say I didn't know anything about biblical symbology or the occult symbology or anything. Let's just say I'm completely ignorant of all that stuff, and I just watched that video. I would think it looked weird anyways. I would think it looked very strange and odd and just off, you know. So, I mean, that alone should just tell you there's something wrong here. And I don't think it was accidental. I think it was very deliberate. There's some people, some wolves working in on this. I'm not saying everybody at Hillsong's bad, because I actually don't think that's the case. I think there's probably some good people there. I wouldn't doubt it. I think some wolves have crept in, and this is intentional, and they're trying to steer, you know, this whole ministry a wrong direction. And I think Carl Lentz is one of them. I really do. I think he's a big part of it. You know, he's the pastor himself. So, you know, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, and thanks for watching.